We've all been there, right? That moment of just pure frustration when you realize someone has messed with your stuff. Maybe they moved it, borrowed it, or worse. It is so infuriating. But what can you actually do about it? Well, as it turns out, the law has a surprisingly neat and logical way of looking at this exact problem.
I mean, seriously, think about it for a second. That roommate who borrows your favorite mug and, it just never comes back? The neighbor who moves your bins somewhere weird on trash day? Or maybe something way more serious. This isn't just about being annoyed. It's about your fundamental rights to your own property.
And that's the magic word we're going to focus on today: interference. You see, the law views this whole thing as a kind of ladder with different levels of wrongdoing. And we're going to climb that ladder together, from just a minor nudge all the way up to a major challenge to your ownership. So, let's start at the very bottom rung.
All right, first up, we have something called Trespass to Goods. Think of this as the foundational level of messing with someone's property. It's all about direct physical contact. The key word here is direct. This means someone physically touches, moves, or, does anything to your property. It could be as simple as throwing a stone at a car, or even just moving an item from one place to another. And here's the crucial part. You don't even have to prove any damage was done. This simple act of unauthorized touching is enough. To make this crystal clear, let's use an analogy that we'll keep coming back to: the lawnmower. So imagine your neighbor decides your lawnmower is kind of blocking their path. They just wheel it from your side of the lawn onto theirs. Now, they haven't damaged it, they haven't used it, they just moved it. That simple, direct act, that's trespass to goods. And this isn't just a theory. A real case highlights this perfectly. In a case called Kirk v. Gregory, a man passed away and his sister-in-law, trying to be helpful, moved some of his jewelry from one room to another for safekeeping. But then, tragically, the jewelry was stolen. The court's decision was really clear. Good intentions don't matter. The unauthorized act of moving it was, in itself, a trespass. Of course, not every single interference is illegal. The law provides a few key defenses. You might have a lawful reason, like a court order giving you permission. It could be an inevitable accident that absolutely no one could have prevented. Or, and this one can get pretty dramatic, it could be in self-defense. And, speaking of dramatic, get this case. In Crosswell v. Sirl, a dog was attacking a farmer and his sheep. The farmer shot the dog to protect himself and his livelihood. The court actually agreed this was a reasonable act of private defense. So, while damaging someone's property is normally a huge trespass, in this case, protecting yourself was a valid justification. Okay, let's move up to the next rung on our ladder and see how this all builds. We're moving beyond a simple touch or a quick movement to something a little more stubborn: the flat-out refusal to give something back. This is called detenue. So the critical thing here is the demand. You've asked for your item back, clearly and lawfully, and the other person is just refusing. The wrongful act isn't that they borrowed it in the first place. It's the ongoing unlawful act of keeping it from you right now. Let's go back to our lawnmower. This time, your neighbor actually asked to borrow it. You said sure, but now a week has passed. You've asked for it back multiple times and they're making excuses, or maybe just straight up ignoring you. They are now wrongfully detaining your lawnmower. That's detainee. And this is the key difference. The problem isn't that they have it. The problem is that they won't return it. A case called Banshee versus Governor was about someone who hired a bicycle and then just never gave it back. The court found them liable for detenue because the core of the wrong was the failure to return it when asked. And now we arrive at the very top of the ladder. This is the most serious form of interference. This is where someone doesn't just move your stuff or refuse to return it. They start acting like it's theirs. This is conversion. This is a huge leap. Conversion is all about asserting dominion over your property. It's when someone's actions are so completely at odds with your rights as the owner, it's basically like they're saying, hey, this belongs to me now. It's a fundamental challenge to your very title to the item.
And here we have it, the final tragic stage for our poor lawnmower. Your neighbor takes your lawnmower without your permission and puts it up for sale online. By trying to sell it, they're acting like they're the true owner. They have converted your property for their own use and benefit. That is the essence of conversion.
So what kind of actions actually count as conversion? Well, it's a whole range of things, from wrongfully taking an item in the first place, to destroying it,
Or, like in our lawnmower example, wrongfully selling it to somebody else. It's basically anything that fundamentally denies that you are the owner. Now, here's a fascinating example of how even just altering something can be conversion. In Richardson versus Atkinson, someone secretly took wine from a cask and then added water to hide what they'd done. The court said that changing the very nature of the goods, turning wine into watered-down wine, was an act of conversion. They treated that wine as if it was their own to do with as they pleased. Okay, so we've climbed the whole ladder: trespass, detenue, and conversion. But why do these distinctions matter so much? Why have 3 different labels? Well, let's put it all together and you'll see the big picture. This right here is the absolute core of it. Trespass is about someone interfering with your physical control over an item, your possession. Conversion is so much deeper. It's an attack on your fundamental right to own the item in the first place. One is like a slap on the wrist, the other is a direct challenge to your title.
And this table just brings it all home, using our lawnmower one last time. For trespass, the act is simply moving it. That's an injury to your possession. For detenue, the act is refusing to return it, a wrongful detention. And for conversion, the act is selling it, a direct attack on your very ownership. Seeing it all laid out side by side really makes the logic perfectly clear.
So what's the big takeaway from all this? It's that the law values 2 separate but totally connected things: your right to own your property and your right to control it, to possess it, and to decide what happens to it. This whole legal framework is designed to protect both of those fundamental rights.
And that leaves us with one final thought to chew on. We've talked about lawnmowers and jewelry and wine, but what about our digital stuff? You know, your data, your online accounts, your digital art. How do these classic ideas of interference apply when someone wrongfully copies, deletes, or even sells your digital property? Which one of these torts do you think fits best? That's something to think about.